Space had always been silent. Not peaceful, just empty. Across millions of star systems, civilizations rose, expanded, and eventually faded. The pattern was predictable. Every intelligent species followed the same cycle: birth, growth, decline, extinction. Death was simple, clean, final. Except Earth. The first signal came from the outer edge of the Orion Arm, a human spacecraft drifting far beyond its intended route, powered down, lifeless. The alien observers, known as the Varelians, marked it as another dead vessel. Routine. They had cataloged thousands like it from other species. They sent a drone to investigate. Inside, they found a human, floating, still. No movement, no heat signatures, no brain activity. Dead. The drone began standard extraction procedures, and then the human gasped. Not a twitch, not a reflex, a full, violent inhale. The Varelians froze. Their systems recalibrated, scanning again. The readings made no sense. The body had already crossed every known biological threshold of death. Cells had begun degrading. Neural activity had ceased minutes ago. Yet the human opened its eyes. It screamed, not in pain, but in terror. The drone retreated instantly. This wasn't revival. This wasn't survival. This was something else. The Varelians escalated the incident to their High Council. Across their civilization, death was absolute. Once neural collapse occurred, consciousness was gone forever. There were no exceptions, no returns, no anomalies. But humans were different. More drones were sent to Earth, not for invasion, for observation. They watched hospitals, battlefields, accidents, moments where death should have been certain. Again and again, the same pattern. A human heart would stop. Minutes would pass, sometimes longer than their science deemed possible. And then they came back, breathing, alive, changed. One case disturbed them more than the others. A human male, age 34, declared clinically dead for 6 minutes after a catastrophic crash. Doctors attempted resuscitation, but according to Varelian calculations, it was already too late. And yet, the man returned. But not fully. When he woke, he spoke of something, a place, a vast darkness, but not empty, watched. He described shapes moving in the void, silent observers surrounding him, waiting, judging. He said he wasn't supposed to come back, that something had let him go, not by accident, by choice. The Varelians ran simulations, trillions of calculations. There was no natural explanation, no biological mechanism that could account for consciousness returning after full system shutdown, which meant one thing: human death wasn't biological. It was controlled. The Council issued a classified directive: observe post-death anomalies. They needed proof. So they chose a subject, a terminal human patient. Stage 4 cancer, no chance of survival. They monitored every second. The moment came quietly. Heart rate slowed. Breathing faded. Flatline. Time of death recorded. The Varelians locked onto the body with every sensor they had. And then, something left. Not energy, not matter, something else. Their instruments couldn't measure it, but they detected a distortion, as if reality itself bent for a fraction of a second. The body was empty, but not just physically. Something was missing. Then it happened. Exactly 3 minutes later, the distortion returned, stronger. The body convulsed, heart restarted, lungs filled, eyes opened, alive. The Varelians panicked. They had just witnessed something impossible. The human hadn't simply recovered, it had left and come back. They began calling it the interval, a gap between death and return, a place no species had ever accessed, because no species had ever come back. The council made a decision. They would attempt contact, not with humans, but with whatever controlled the interval. They built a device, a machine capable of forcing a Varelian into death, while preserving its body long enough to attempt re-entry. It was risky. No Varelian had ever returned from death, but they needed answers. The experiment began. The subject volunteered. Heart stopped. Brain activity ceased. Death confirmed. They waited. 1 minute, nothing. 2 minutes, nothing. 3 minutes. The body remained still, cold, empty. No distortion, no return. The Varelians realized something horrifying. They couldn't access the interval. Only humans could. That's when they understood. Death wasn't universal. It was selective. They shifted their focus back to Earth. This time, not as observers, but as investigators. They abducted a human, a young woman, alive, conscious, terrified. They explained nothing. They simply asked one question. What happens after you die? She stared at them, confused. Then she laughed. Not because it was funny, but because she thought it was obvious. You don't know? She said. The Varelians remained silent. Her expression changed slowly, from confusion to something darker. You really don't know, she whispered. She leaned forward, eyes locked onto theirs, and said, Death isn't the end for us. It's where we go back. The room fell silent. The Varelian system spiked with unknown readings. What do you mean, go back? They asked. The humans smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Where do you think we came from? That was the moment everything changed. The Varelians reviewed all human history, every culture, every myth, every near-death experience. Every story said the same thing in different ways. Humans didn't fear death, not truly, because somewhere deep inside, they remembered it. The council reached a final conclusion. Humans weren't evolving towards something. They were returning. And whatever waited in the interval was waiting for all of them. The Varelians issued a galaxy-wide warning. Do not terminate human life. Do not interfere with human death. Do not attempt to access the interval. But it was already too late. Because across the galaxy, more humans were dying and coming back. And each time they returned, they remembered a little more. The final transmission from the Varelians was intercepted centuries later, a single line, repeated over and over, glitching, breaking, like something was interfering. Humans are not surviving death. Humans are being sent back. Signal lost. On Earth, a man wakes up from a near-death experience, gasping, shaking, eyes wide with something beyond fear. Someone asks him what he saw. He hesitates, then whispers, "They're not watching us. They're waiting." And far beyond the stars, something ancient smiles.